Republic victory is at hand. Clone troopers under the command of the Jedi have successfully invaded the separatist-occupied world of Ryloth. Anakin Skywalker battles the enemies in the skies, while Obi-Wan Kenobi frees villages from the grip of vile separatist leader Wat Tambor. Now Jedi General Mace Windu leads the attack on enemy lines in the final offensive to liberate the capital city of Lesu.
Oh, greetings, Bucketheads. Mevar Tigar? Welcome to the 46th Wat Tambor Wrestling episode of Mando Vision. Nargai Tom, and thank you so much for checking out this small, independent Star Wars podcast. Remember, the best way to reach out to us is via social media at Mando_Vision on Twitter and Instagram. You can also hit us up long-form communications, MandoVisionTom@gmail.com. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share this show with all the other Mandalorians in your covert, and every other covert you can think of. That's always appreciated. And if possible or so inclined, give us those sweet, sweet, sweet 5-star reviews. Remember, 5-star reviews are the best way to support any podcast out there, particularly small independent shows like ours, because, hey, there's a lot of content out there, and this is how we defeat the evil algorithm that attempts to hold us down. All right. Let's get into this episode. Well, not quite into it, We still got a little bit of preamble to do first here. We're back. We're concluding the Ryloth trilogy. I've had a lot of fun revisiting this. I hope you have as well. This is going to be Season 1, Episode 21 of Star Wars The Clone Wars, Liberty on Ryloth. Its original air date is March the 13th, 2009. Here's our plot. Mace Windu and his clone troopers aim to liberate the Ryloth capital of Lesu, but need to acquire the help of a Twi'lek resistance group led by Cham Syndulla in order to do so. And yes, we know that Syndulla name. The great heir Hera Syndulla. Meet her dad. Here we go. This is exciting stuff. I'm really... it was a lot of fun to revisit this 3-part episode of Ryloth. I remember this being something of a high watermark for Season 1. And yeah, it surely didn't disappoint going back to it. And we get to see in the computer animated flesh Wat Tambor himself in these 2 episodes in particular, but even in prior episodes in Season 1 here, Wat has only been seen really via hologram. So now we catch up to him. He is the self-proclaimed emir of Ryloth now, and there are going to be consequences for his actions, for his bold strategy of occupying and oppressing the people of Ryloth, the Twi'leks. And an exciting episode. So let's kind of get into it. Actually, before we get into it, I would like to take a moment to address a specific listener of this podcast who has accused me of being too pro-Republic in my podcast. It's a fair point. I can't argue with it necessarily. It did force me to think about one particular. We have sort of talked in a broad sense about the overall machinations of one Chancellor Palpatine, Supreme Chancellor Palpatine, aka Darth Sidious. Let's be honest, both sides of this war are dupes for the Sith Lord, and I think that's sort of the funny thing when you accuse me of being too pro-Republic. I just thought that was really humorous. I know this listener personally, so I think we're okay having a little joking moment here. I'm not. It was totally worth it. Oh boy! All right, let's get into the episode. You know what you have to do first. It's that time. Strap on your buckets. Let's go.
The Republic is advancing faster than I expected.
I calculate they will reach the main gates by morning. I recommend we prepare our retreat.
I will not retreat. That Jedi does not have the troops to take this city. Bring our units inside the walls and secure the bridge.
Hey, all right. Let's, we're not too pro-Republic on this podcast. We give Wat Tambor some love. Now you have to give us some love, dang it. All right, let's talk about this episode again. We said the name already. Season 1, Episode 21, Liberty on Ryloth. This episode is directed by Rob Coleman, written by Henry Gilroy and Scott Murphy. Our principal cast for this episode: Terrence T.C. Carson takes the stage in this one as Mace Windu. Robin Atkin Downs is Cam Syndulla. Sham Syndulla. Jeez Louise, I have a really hard time saying that. I apologize. Matthew Wood is back as Wat Tambor in the Battle Droids. D. Bradley Baker as the Clone Troopers and Commander Pons. Matt Lanter is Anakin Skywalker. Phil Lamar as Orn Free Taa. Corey Burton as Count Dooku. And Gobi Glee. Ashley Eckstein as Ahsoka Tano. Tom Kane is Yoda, the narrator, and Admiral Yularen. Ian Abercrombie as Chancellor Palpatine. James Arnold Taylor as Tay Boone in this episode. You thought I was going to say Obi-Wan Kenobi, didn't you? I didn't. I said he's Tay Boone. And then we have Gary Shepke as TA-175. And I believe that's the tactical droid who you just heard in that opening scene right there. I think that is correct. All right. So this episode, we talked a little bit about it. It's this is Mace in your face. This is as promised at the beginning of this arc. You know, this is a three-pronged assault that the Jedi are leading to liberate Ryloth. You have Anakin Skywalker as sort of like the air with air supremacy. Basically, he is the blockade breaker in Episode 1. You have Obi-Wan Kenobi leading the charge to destroy the cannons that are keeping the Republic forces from landing on the ground. And Obi-Wan is running around and freeing villages all over the planet, apparently, which is pretty dope. Probably keeping him very, very busy. And now we get to the third phase of this, which is ground forces on the ground being led by Mace Windu as they move into the capital city of Lesu to end Wat Tambor's occupation of the planet. Our Jedi fortune cookie this episode: compromise is a virtue to be cultivated, not a weakness to be despised. We're gonna get that's explored through the Twi'leks themselves in this episode. The relationship, the dynamic between the Twi'lek Senator Orn Free Taa and the resistance leader in Sham Syndulla. They are the ones who have to sort of broker a peace between themselves for the benefit of Ryloth. And you know, there's some interesting interpersonal dynamics at play there. The power struggle to be the senator of Ryloth, and Syndulla's role with it, and his acceptance of it, and how he views that. How he views Orn Free Taa. We'll talk a little bit more about it when we get to that scene. But that's sort of where our Jedi Fortune Cookie comes into play here. After that narration catches us up on what's come beforehand, we see Republic forces moving in Lesu in a winding kind of mountainous road that they're on, under siege by the Separatists. And we get to see Mace in action. And we also get to see Mace's Shatterpoint ability on full display in this episode as he uses it to free some troopers that are trapped in their downed Republic craft. And his ability to Shatterpoint is it's his unique force ability. For anyone not clear on what I'm trying to say to you, Mace Windu has the ability to look at any object and see how it would shatter, to find its shatter point. And with just a simple touch and of the Force from Mace Windu, he can shatter anything. And it comes into play very handy here to save some clone troopers. And there's a whole book about Mace and his shatter point ability that I do recommend. It's very interesting stuff. But as I mentioned last week, we might be doing some Jedi Spotlight episodes too. So we will talk more in depth about Mace and that shatter point ability, because it comes into place in some interesting ways in Star Wars comics and in Star Wars novels. So we'll save a little bit of that conversation for down the road. But I thought it was really neat to see that on display in this episode. I had forgotten they do that. So yeah, pretty cool to see him just kind of tap that glass and it just shattered a million pieces. And those clone troopers make their escape. Really, really cool stuff. All right, so Mace's squad, and this is Lightning Squad. I love this. This is like they're on like these cool like mini personalized chicken walkers. It's just like the ones we saw the clones using on Kashyyyk in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, but great to see them in an animated format as well. Just so neat. Super cool look. I love the way it goes. I love this battle sequence too. Really, really enjoyable stuff. You know, we've talked a little bit about how some of the episodes, because it's, you know, production-wise, some of the episodes are done a little bit out of order than the way they get played out sometimes, and so how sometimes the animations maybe a little off here and there in some of the episodes in this first season. But the battle sequences almost in every episode look spectacular, and it's no exception here. We get to see another planet. We get to explore another new planet that we've only heard mention of in the Star Wars prequels in the original. We never heard it mentioned in the original trilogy, but Ryloth is something that fans have known because we are aware of the Twi'leks, and it's really cool to see these planets and the places that these aliens people come from. So I again, another aspect of the show, being able to kind of like plumb the depths of that Star Wars lore and mythology and get to see it with our own eyes and kind of give ourselves a little bit more context on what these things are supposed to look like. Really enjoyed that aspect of this 3-part episode quite a bit. This in these 3-part episodes too, we also saw a lot of use of the Separatists using probe droids. Obviously this is something that Palpatine will take note of, as probe droids are the look of these particular probe droids is heavily incorporated into the Empire down the road, and that sort of is emblematic of Palpatine's absorbing of all these different aspects of the Separatists into his new galactic empire. After the events of Episode 3, he doesn't just end the Separatist threats. I mean, he just absorbs all of it. He brings it all in. Anything that's useful, he keeps. Anything that's he doesn't need or is not good, he gets rid of. Like, they don't need B1 battle droids. See ya. Probe droids, those come in handy. Stuff like that. We'll get to talk a little bit more about that stuff and kind of the role the Separatists technology has to play in the Empire once we kind of get there. But you do see some elements that bleed over into that Galactic Empire era from episodes 4, 5, and 6. A lot of really fun stuff. All right, let's go ahead and play the scene here where Mace Windu is giving a we're getting kind of like a status meeting on what's going on as his forces are moving into the capital city. Let's go ahead and play this.
What's your progress, Skywalker?
My fighters have secured control of the space around Ryloth. We have the Separatist cruisers on the run.
Very good, General Skywalker.
Master Kenobi has taken the Jexuan Desert, so the southern hemisphere is ours.
Then, it's almost over.
Not yet. The key position is the capital of Lesu. Our spies are certain the Separatist leader Wat Tambor has his command center there.
When taking the city, we have. Capture Tambor, we must.
It's not going to be easy, Master. Tambor has chosen his stronghold well. This plasma bridge is the only way in or out.
I'm afraid a siege could drag on indefinitely.
My people have suffered so much already.
A plan you have to take the bridge, Master Windu?
With our forces stretched so thinly, I'm going to enlist the help of the Freedom Fighters, led by Sham Syndulla. His fight against the droids has made him a symbol of freedom for the people.
Sham Syndulla was a radical before the war. He is very unpredictable.
He can't be trusted. I know Syndulla seeks to gain power. We were political rivals.
I'll leave the politics to you, Senator. I'm gonna do whatever I can to help these people.
Perhaps we could send you Republic reinforcements instead.
There are no reinforcements available, Chancellor.
We can't win without Syndulla's help.
All right, so there's the basis of Mace's plan: make contact with the Resistance fighters, led by Sham Syndulla. Again, we get a little context there for the political rivalry between Orn Free-Taa, the Twi'lek senator, and Sham Syndulla. But Mace, I like Mace authoritative in his desire to make contact because he needs these people's help if he's going to succeed in his mission to liberate the people. I mean, it is Liberty on Ryloth. That is the name of the episode. Mace must follow that to the letter. I also like the scene coming up here. I shouldn't say coming up here. I like the scene that this leads to next, where Mace out with a couple of the troopers. They're on those sweet little mini individual chicken walkers. I don't want to draw comparisons to U.S. military actions in this episode. I don't want to make that comparison back and forth between the two things because I feel like Star Wars is different enough. And also, I don't feel comfortable trying to make that metaphor. But you can't help but sort of think about that in the back of your mind as you watch these episodes and you hear about freedom fighters and resistance fighters to occupying forces and to another force coming in here. Now, Does Sham Syndulla view the Republic as liberators or just as the next oppressor coming in to take the Separatists' place? And we get into that conversation when the two sides do meet up. So we're going to play that out. And I do sense that like the clone troopers kind of feel that sort of reluctance, that will be all they are viewed as. So they don't know if they can trust this resistance leader that they're hunting for and seeking for. They don't even know if they're going to get there safely. The scene I want to play next though is Wat Tambor being chastised by Count Dooku. I really like this, and any chance to kind of see Dooku yelling at somebody is always kind of fun. Let's go ahead and play that scene here right now.
Your tactical droid has informed me of the pitiful job you have done protecting our investment on Ryloth.
That droid exaggerates. I have not lost yet.
You are no match for Master Windu. Do not become greedy, Emir Tambor. Take what valuables you can and destroy everything else.
Everything?
We can put this defeat to political use. The charred ruins of Ryloth will demonstrate to the galaxy the cost of a Republic victory.
As you wish.
But Wat Tambor, not the world's best listener, though it was interesting. The first thing he says is that his tactical droid has told him. So the tactical droid is going around Wat Tambor, reporting directly to Dooku. That should be cause for concern. These tactical droids have proven themselves to be quite capable, but not the most loyal. And we see that in particular with this particular unit, by the way this episode ends, in his abandonment of Wat Tambor to his fate. And as he takes Tambor's ship and leaves. It's like, nah, I'm out of here. Peace, sucker. You didn't listen to anything I had to say. You didn't listen to Dooku. Suffer your fate. And it kind of makes me laugh. I'm not going to lie. All right, so Mace eventually makes contact with Sham Syndulla. Sham will take them back to their base and treat them as guests, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to work together with the Republic forces. Meanwhile, Wat Tambor, the tactical droid, they're making plans of their own after another conversation with Count Dooku, and it's time to start bombing some Twi'lek villages. That's not going to go over well. You get to see some fun stuff with the Twi'lek culture, the dance routines, and a little bit of their people's normal way of life and how they are preserving this even in this sort of underground state, and even in hiding as they have to hide themselves from the forces of the Separatists. And I really enjoyed that scene. I like the way that played out. I like the conversation between Sham and Mace as Sham eventually decides to meet with Orn Free-Taa and see if they can somehow come to an agreement on if they will end up working together and if they will trust the Republic to not be the next occupying force, if you will. So let's go ahead and see if we can't play that scene for you right about now.
Senator Ta, so glad you could join us from comfortable Coruscant. Our people have survived with only me.
I knew you would try to turn this into a campaign to take power. Need I remind you that it is I who leads our people in the Senate.
And it is I who leads our people here and now.
There will be nothing left to lead if you two refuse to work together.
General Windu, do you copy?
I hear you, Skywalker.
My fighters are taking out the bombers as fast as they can, Master Windu, but there are just too many. I doubt we can stop them all. I suggest you get the people away from the cities.
You must destroy those bombers, Skywalker. Then meet me at the Capitol.
I'll do what I can.
All right, there you go. Some fast-paced action coming our way, courtesy of the one and only Anakin Skywalker. Air supremacy as he attempts to battle these vulture droids. I want to kind of cut around that scene, but I want to play the rest of the conversation between Orn and Sham Syndulla here. But I want to... maybe I should have just played it because it's a little too hard to slide around this thing sometimes. Don't worry, here we go. You might hear the tail end of the battle, but here we go.
What can the Separatists hope to gain from burning our homes?
Nothing. Wat Tambor spoils for others what he cannot possess.
Then we must act quickly.
Senator, your people are hesitant to join us because they're worried there will be another military occupation.
The people have my promise. that the clone army will leave once Ryloth is free of those droids.
General, what assurance can you give Senator Tar you will not try to assume power?
I only want to see my people free, Master Jedi. I give my word. I believe in democracy.
Then we are together in this.
Men of Ryloth, the time has come to free ourselves!
All right, pretty exciting stuff right there. So one of the things we should talk a little bit about is during the time when Sham Syndulla is walking Mace around and kind of showing them their underground lair, like lair is not the right word you don't want to use, but like the underground community they've built for themselves to hide from the Separatist forces. We do see Syndulla's daughter, presumably Hera, right? But we're not entirely sure. The character goes unnamed. Does Syndulla have more kids? We can talk about that later. But it's believed by many that this is the first appearance of Hera Syndulla. Again, we will talk more about that later in another episode, not this episode. Once we get into Rebels, we'll talk more about this stuff, okay? Don't worry. I promise. But some other interesting things going on in this episode, too. Just a little bit of a cameo from the Ark of the Covenant. That's right, from Raiders of the Lost Ark. Watch the scene where Watt is packing up his valuables, and you will see over his shoulder the battle droids loading the Ark of the Covenant onto his ship. So another little homage to one of George Lucas's other projects. You know, in one of the episodes earlier this season, we saw the Staff of Ra make an appearance. Now we get the Ark of the Covenant itself. We find out that the Ryloth, the Twi'leks, have been holding it, keeping it safe for everybody. That's good to know. Got out of that warehouse. Or maybe this is before it gets to the warehouse. Is this the prequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark we never knew we needed? I think it is. All right, so now we get to like the big action set piece of this episode. Remember, they established that Tambor's chosen his fortress well. It's surrounded by an uncrossable chasm. The only way across is a light bridge that they control the access to. And this is the part where you have to get across that light bridge before the droids just simply shut it off and send you plummeting into the bottomless. Well, it's probably not a bottom, but the very, very far away bottom of this chasm. It's a really fun action sequence as Mace and his troopers move in, and the bridge gets turned off, and Mace has to do like some really super cool Mace Windu stuff. You see Mace's mastery of the Force on display in this sequence. Obviously we're an audio show, so I can't really play it. There's nothing to see. I mean, it would just be like really cool sounds and stuff. Because they do this really great part where everything's just the sound sort of just drops away from the sequence as Mace is sort of doing all of his sweet moves. I can't urge you strongly enough to watch the sequence on its own. It's like around the like 19-ish minute mark, and it's a really great sequence. Highlights Mace Windu's mastery of the Force, why he is a kick-butt Jedi Master on his own, and they do a great job of also displaying like Mace's fierceness. And there's a sequence where he gets on top of one of those. He goes face to face with a battle droid, and he just mean mugs that battle droid. And if I was that battle droid, I again, I'm a robot, but I would have been scared because the way Mace looks at that droid is not nice. Oof, bad things are gonna happen to that droid. A great sequence. I love it a bit. I love it a bunch. We also have more of Anakin versus the droid bombers. Wat Tambor and Count Dooku are in a huge disagreement, and Watt's refusing to give up his position. And they start using civilians as shields, again, a tactic we saw employed before. And the basics here is that Wat Tambor's greed is going to lead to his undoing because he wants the valuables of Ryloth. He wants to pillage the place as best he can. Before he's forced to retreat, which he doesn't think he needs to do. He still thinks his forces will win, despite Dooku telling him to leave, despite his tactical droid telling him that it's over. Wat Tambor still thinks he's going to pull it out, despite all that information to the contrary. So really, really good stuff. I'm going to play the last little sequence here of, Mace versus some droids and the discussion with Wat Tambor at the very end of this episode. So you'll hear some lightsabers and some choppy chops, but all in good fun. Here we go.
Surrender.
General Windu, perhaps we can come to a compromise.
Not when I hold all the cards.
It appears a surrender is unnecessary. We will all perish for the glory of the Separatist Alliance.
Oops.
Whoa! That was close, Master.
Isn't it always, Snips?
What are your terms for surrender?
They're unconditional.
Agreed.
I thank you, Master Jedi. Today, all of Ryloth thanks you.
You've earned your freedom, General. All of you.
Hey, all right, not bad. Now you get a little victory parade. Orn Free on the planet with Syndulla, making good on their promises, hopefully to each other. I want to talk. I should have addressed it a little earlier, and I didn't do it, and that's my mistake. But the Resistance fighters, the Twi'lek Resistance fighters, are using blurgs. This is the sort of the original reintroduction of the blurgs. You may remember that the blurgs originally made their debut in the Ewok movie, and that's sort of where we first got their appearance, right? That was the Ewok movie, which is now available on Disney Plus because they have that Star Wars Vintage section. So yeah, go watch Ewoks Battle for Endor, and you will see the first appearance of the blurgs. This is their first reintroduction, the sort of reintroduction into canon, if you will, because those Ewok movies, they don't count. That's why it's Star Wars Vintage. It's basically part of like the Legends line, if you will, if you want to put that label on them. So before The Mandalorian was to use the blurgs in season 1, blurgs came back in the animated form, and this was the episode that did that first. So that was a little interesting note that I meant to talk about earlier in the episode, but I'm glad I at least got to it here at the very, very end. So there it is. That is the episode, The Liberty of Ryloth. It's happened. This Ryloth trilogy has come to a conclusion. I dig this episode a lot. I love that sequence with Mace Windu just being a super Jedi, kick butt Jedi dude. I wanted to use other words, but then I remembered I try not to curse on this show, so I didn't even want to say the ones I had in my mind, which weren't that bad, but still didn't want to say them. But yeah, Mace Windu's powers highlighted to the extreme in all their force wielding glory. Such a great sequence. I give this episode 8 stars. Just 8 lightsabers. I think that's what the rankings we determined. Just like the previous episode. There are some slower moments, some little inconsistencies here and there. It's not quite as captivating as I thought the second chapter was, but that sequence alone just bumps it up, man. 8.0 on the lightsaber scale. Really good episode. Closes out a really strong arc for season 1 of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, which means we only have 1 episode left of the season, and it's a doozy too. I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of fun stuff in this next episode, but we're gonna save that chat for the next episode of the Mandovision podcast, because why ruin that now? Again, dig this Ryloth arc. So much fun. And lots of really great moments for each of the characters in each of these episodes. You know, Anakin in the first part, Obi-Wan in the second part, and Mace Windu here just being Mace in your face, especially in that battle droid who looked like he might have leaked a little oil when Mace stared him down a little bit. Wouldn't surprise me in the least. Wouldn't surprise me in the least. All right, well, listen, this has been the episode. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have enjoyed this as much as I have. It's always a lot of fun. I always enjoy doing the Mandovision podcast because talking about Star Wars is pretty much my favorite thing to do. It's pretty much my favorite thing to do. If you're enjoying the Mandovision podcast and you're enjoying me as a host of a podcast, be sure to check out the Tomcast podcast, where we talk about all the other stuff going on in pop culture. Specifically, at the moment, we're spending a lot of time on Marvel, their new Disney Plus series, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We're having a great time breaking those down every Friday. But there's other stuff going on in those episodes too. We do news and movie reviews and all kinds of stuff. So check out the Tomcast podcast. I would truly appreciate it. And if you're into craft beer, you can check out Beer Night in San Diego, a podcast that I am on, hopefully on a more regular basis moving forward. Things have changed in my work schedule, so I think I'll be able to be back on that show on a regular basis, but fingers crossed that holds true. All right, again, my name Nargai Tom. Thank you so much for checking out this small independent Star Wars podcast. Mandovision will be back next week as we wrap up Season 1 of Star Wars The Clone Wars. Remember, the best way to reach out to us is via social media at Mando_Vision on Twitter and Instagram. You can email the show mandovisiontom@gmail.com. And the easiest way to support our show, giving us those sweet, sweet, sweet 5-star reviews. They are so absolutely critical to helping shows get some legs under them and crack that algorithm right in half. The way Mace uses his Shatterpoint ability to just send things into a million pieces. That's what we want to do to the algorithm that promotes certain podcasts over other podcasts. So we need those 5-star reviews to help us find the Shatterpoint in that algorithm. Thank you so much for the support. That was pretty good. Come on, I'm proud of myself on that one. Woo! Nice. All right. Let's get out of here. I said it's going to be a week. It's not going to be a week until the next episode. We're blowing through these episodes. We got a lot of fun stuff to do before the Bad Batch starts. It's going to be a blast. Everyone get ready. Keep your buckets on. Just don't even take them off. We're cranking out the shows this week. Cranking them out. You're never not going to be without Mandovision. That's a fact. All right. There's only one way to close out this podcast, and this is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.